Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud. This is the Gauntlet episode 5 recap. Holy Canoe, which I must say is very well put together, ironically enough. It's a canoe with holes in it, basically, and it's halfway sunk, and they have to, as a team, paddle across this lake to these buoys, turn around, and then come back through the finish line, and bam, they'll win $10,000 for their team. And I was like, man, that's kind of ingenious because the whole time you're paddling, half the team is going to paddle, and the other half is going to have these buckets just frantically trying to get the water out of this sinking boat, get it out of the hull. And it does provide some problems. Like Coral, for instance, she's like, I'm terrified of being in the water. Like, I can't swim. Like, I don't want to drown. And especially, like, who's going to save me here? Any of you assholes? I don't think so. So she's terrified, and she's like, wait a minute, so we're in a ship that is sinking? That is kind of messed up, but I like the idea. It's pretty cool, and it's well applied here. And really, we're starting off with a mission because that's how the episode started, on a mission, right to the action. We did not get any kind of build up to this, how the relationships are going throughout the house, any of that. That's how I would cover podcasts typically. I would just state what happened in the missions and then whatever happened in deliberation, and that's what I would like to report on, because I'm like, I don't want to fucking get caught on a podcast saying like, oh my god, she totally hates him but loves this guy and stuff. I didn't want to talk about any of that shit. But these episodes are actually really well put together, just in terms of story. I definitely felt something this episode because of what goes on later between Mike the Miz and Coral. And it made me realize, I'm like, wow, maybe that's what's been missing. I mean, Coral's been in the picture lately, but Miz has sort of been hanging back. I mean, he's this so-called leader, and he kind of has the final say in a lot of respects, and a lot of people kind of voice their opinion through him, or at least try and get his attention and work it that way. And perhaps maybe that's why everyone's friends with Coral. I mean, Coral is powerful, yet her and Miz are tight with each other. They might as well be president and vice president. I don't know which one is which, who's really pulling each other's strings. I would imagine it's Coral. Oh my god, we're jumping ahead so much. But that's a huge reveal in this episode where the Miz is like, okay, you got me, guys. I've been covering for Coral. Coral has been running amok on our team, causing distrust, in these ugly campaigns against like these nice dudes like Matt, who's like a Christian by all accounts. He volunteers, he helps out, he volunteers in this episode to be like a leader of sorts, yet Coral just does not care for this guy. So Miz has been ignoring that. He's been ignoring her performances. She's been getting out for her team at least twice that I could think of right now. But yeah, that is a great reveal of Mike the Miz's character. And this is how I kind of imagine this episode. It's the return of Mike the Miz and Coral. It's the return of that friendship. They really interact in this episode in a huge way where it ripples throughout the episode. You definitely feel some sort of tension there. And you're not quite sure who is in the right and who is in the wrong, because it's instantly kind of gets turned around. And it's very interesting. But god damn it, we're jumping ahead so much. Let's get into the actual mission. Holy Canoe. Frickin' Real World, they have to pull it together. I'm still identifying with Real World Team for some reason. I think it's just Road Rules, they're this unstoppable machine right now. And I admire that. They're really working together fluidly, and they're getting it done. Again, this is just huge jumping forward with the episode. It's needless to say that the Road Rules will win this mission. Let's just throw that out there. This is going to be their 4th win in a row. So they have $40,000. But leading up to this point, perhaps we should talk about that too. On the Real World side, Matt is like, hey, I'm an Eagle Scout. And they're like, yeah, no shit. He's like, no, in reality, I've won a merit badge and shit, so I can really help out. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So they're listening to him, which is great. Again, Matt steps up. And even though he could have possibly rubbed people the wrong way with this whole, like, I'm a complete Christian, Boy Scout, Eagle Scout, like, by the book, Bible thumper, I pray for the poor women who have breast surgery who get boob jobs. I offend those around me, especially in the challenge cast, Tanya. And he also wears a T-shirt in this episode that just says in huge letters, "Porn destroys women." I'm like, oh well, okay. Like it does or it doesn't. I mean, I don't. It's like, why are we bringing up this issue right now? This episode, it felt so huge, and then I'm like, oh, of course, we forgot that porn destroys women, or does it? Like you start thinking, like, wow, that is way more controversial than what's actually happening in the room right now, Matt. So you're kind of taking away from the suspense, if you will. Holy shit, we're jumping ahead by leaps and bounds. It's crazy. So I mentioned Coral before this whole thing started. She's like, holy shit, I'm going to be freaking out because we're already halfway sinking by the time this starts. Like, this is, I will, and she tells everyone before they all get into the boat, hey, this is going to happen. I will scream at people and I will be ridiculous. But everyone's just like, oh, okay, Coral, we get it. And she's like, no, you have no idea. Imagine me on the water. They're like, yeah, we can. We've experienced that. You've jumped out in like 2 seconds. Thank you. But while this whole thing is going on, Miz is like, I told Coral I would never vote her off. I know she's our weakest link. She's not a very good swimmer. They cut to episode 1. These are the seeds that ultimately lead to the best part of the episode, the real heart and soul of it. On the Road Rule team, Adam L. is instructing his team. He's just like, hey, I know how to, I've done this countless times. I just never had it sinking during the whole thing. But he's like, I am willing to step up. I can be in that position. I can lead. Great for him. His characterization lately was that he was Katie's so-called friend, and now that she's gone, nothing's really changed for him, not for Adam. But that's a good thing. I mean, he's on top of his game, and now he's able to showcase, like, hey, there's no way I'm going to get any votes right now. I'm leading you guys. But, he is a little weary about it. But hey, it doesn't matter, because I've foreshadowed the fuck out of Road Rules winning again. Matt, he's been in the front the entire time, and he was shouting orders, but I think it was Trishelle or Irulan are like, well, his voice would not get carried. The wind would just kind of push his voice forward, like away from us. He was like downwind from then. Oh, and Irulan was a pretty good help. Irulan helped. She repeated every order that Matt was yelling out, and that was kind of nice. I mean, Irulan's really kind of stepped up, at least in this mission for sure. But yeah, there's not much to say about it. It's really cool to watch. There's a great song that plays throughout the mission. Real World just goes from bank to bank to bank. Like, they're zigzagging the entire time. It's very embarrassing. Like, Nathan's like, I'm embarrassed. And Road Rules, they get to the halfway point of the buoys, and then they actually get to the finish line around the time that Real World get to the halfway point. It's so bad. It's very lopsided. It's over like that. Road Rules win. And now the Real World are going to have one of these pre-deliberation deliberations, I call them, where they don't want to go to the actual deliberation room and then start the voting off process. They actually want to stay there after their defeat, which kind of harkens back to their episode 2 performance of Masquerade, where they just wanted to vote right then and there. It's almost like that puzzle or that particular mission, these missions hit them in a way where they're like, no, I cannot stand to be on the bus right now. I need to address this right now. Like, as a team, they must have felt this way. So you cut to this pre-deliberation deliberation already in progress, where Coral is already on the defensive. She's like, you know what? We're not losing missions because we decide in a room. We're losing missions because we can't talk to each other. And Alton, he's like, you know what? Who knows? Let's try. We want to get this out in the open. Matt is like, as a whole, there's a lack of communication. And Coral says, and that is extremely true. We were going, and Summer is saying, let's go through the buoys. We're going back. Let's do this. Let's do that. I get frustrated. She's going on and on and on. Eddie Murphy style, where it's like, okay, you're clearly just speaking very fastly to just kind of, I don't know, distract us. Are you trying to dazzle us with the amount of words that you're saying? Meanwhile, I know that you've completely just taken what we're trying to say to you, and you're saying, everyone was saying, like, we don't know what we're doing. She's already kind of deflecting it to the rest of the team. And she says, I said, fuck this. I got water up to here, and we're sitting there. We're literally not moving. I think she's referring to when they got to the halfway point and they lost and they weren't moving at all. That's when she must have, like, really cursed up a storm. Something where they obviously could not show. It rubbed nearly the entire team wrong. And she's like, okay, and yes, I was complaining because nobody had their shit together. And Elton says, but that was everybody. We were all frustrated. But we need you to be able to calm it down a little bit. Without missing a beat, Nathan jumps in, who I think is a Coral supporter. I mentioned how there was Mike and Coral, and then there's people who are just siding with Coral. Anyways, I'm saying that's Nathan. So Nathan, he goes in immediately with a, Coral, I love you, but you're just, when you're saying, like, oh, fuck, like, just swearing and shit like that, you're cussing, that aggravates the rest of us. And Coral says, I didn't aggravate the whole team. She's not listening at all. Like, she's actually coming across as really, really difficult. Nathan says she has to know that about herself. That she can kind of attack a little too hard sometimes. There's so many kind of trying to buy back what he says, trying to make up for it. He's like, she has to know that about herself, that she can kind of, emphasize kind of, attack a little too hard. So, underline a little. She could kind of attack a little too hard sometimes, underline sometimes, where even while alone and surrounded by probably dude producers with a camera in his face, he's like, yeah, Coral. No, he's just like, Coral, hey, sometimes, please don't stop it, like she's raising a fist to him or something like that. Like, come on, man. Like, it's just Coral. Now, I personally think of Coral as, I don't know, I've met people like her before, where it's really a personality thing, where it's I don't know, I don't really get fazed by it anymore. It's like that great line of Inglourious Basterds by Brad Pitt at the end, where he's like, oh, well, if you cut up this Oscar winner, if you put that on his forehead, you're gonna get what do you say? He's like, I'll get chewed out, and I've been chewed out before. And he does it anyways. Like, I've experienced that by countless people, I suppose. And at the end of it, I'm like, you know what? I've heard a lot of this shit before, and just saying it faster does not faze me at all whatsoever. So I think that's what Coral does. And if you really think about it, everyone says during this episode, Coral intimidates people. Coral is a bully. Like, I once had a nightmare about Coral. I woke up and I apologized to her. Like, it's just horrible. She's totally in everyone's heads. It's sad. So let's cut to Road Rules Deliberation. And we start off pretty quickly with Steve reading off the final tallies of the vote. He goes, Tina 23, Veronica 18, Ronnie 18, Sarah 19. Tina's going into the Gauntlet. And just like that, Tina's like, starts clapping, and she's like, hey, I knew I was going in, whatever, and she takes it well. Yet she doesn't understand why. She's just like, I don't understand this. I didn't understand it back in the other episode where I got the top 3 vote, but now I'm going in. Like, I don't understand what I did wrong. And neither does Rachel or Veronica. Ronnie, she doesn't agree. The girls, they really feel something's amiss. Something's really fucking wrong here. So Rachel Robinson, she's like, Tina hasn't gotten last place. Veronica hasn't. And they had the most votes today. It's ridiculous. Veronica and Rachel Robinson, they actually have this awesome scene together where they're talking about what just went down. And the beauty of it is that they are able to walk on the fucking roads. You see these giant hotel buildings, these lodges that not only the Real World and Road Rules team have, but other people have as well. And they're just walking out there and they're able to have a great conversation. This is before the cast, the challenge cast, would be regulated to a building. Like, you can't leave the building, you can't leave the house. And that is to bring out the craziness out of everybody. It's not very healthy, I don't think. I mean, for ratings, maybe, but I like these scenes. Rachel Robinson and Veronica, they're talking about this, and they're power players, I would have to say. I mean, you know, they're quite they're the commanders of their female side of the team, and that's basically what they're saying right now. She's saying, you know, you don't throw in the heart and soul of the girls' team. Rachel Robinson says this. Then Veronica says, maybe we're a little biased because we're close to her, but it doesn't still seem right. Rachel says, no, because she doesn't deserve it. She never ever done bad at a mission. She's never ever not been a team player. Everybody loves her. Like, why is she targeted? This secret ballot allows people to vote in people who don't deserve to be voted in. And I thought that was really funny, that little last part where now she's like, hold on, this isn't fair. You know, I'm sure this hasn't dawned on her that she did the same thing to Katie in episode 2, but I feel like the reason why it hasn't really dawned on her is because perhaps episode 4 was totally deserving of voting Katie in there. Maybe that's how she justified it, and that's how she kind of remembers it. But she totally used that same system to vote for Sarah in episode 1. Who knows if she's really coming to grips, if she really has an epiphany about the game at all. This is the pre-deliberation for the Real World team, and Matt and Rachel B actually corner the Miz, in my opinion. They corner him in the kitchen. Well, first of all, I liked Matt and Rachel B together. They're hard workers, but they're not in the clique of the Real World. You know, they're kind of outside this huge Coral, Alton, Irulan, Nathan, Norman, Miz sort of clique. So they're naturally drawn together, but they are hard workers, and I actually like them a lot. So they corner the Miz, and Matt is saying, hey, listen, Miz, and again, this is pre-deliberation. He says, you don't have to do anything out of fear, because you are our leader, and you are always going to do well. You have to go in there with confidence and speak in that confidence and lay down the law. And people will respond. I guarantee it. Because everyone is friends to one degree or another. And some of us, we don't want to vote each other off. But if a friendship can't outlast something as petty as a Real World Road Rules challenge, you really got to wonder what the friendship is based on. First of all, it was great. It was a great line by Matt. But spoiler alert, Matt will never be on a challenge again. And this is kind of why I feel like the producers were just pissed off at Matt for those words of saying, like, something as petty as a Real World Road Rules challenge. Are you kidding me? They're like, hey, fuck you, man. Never again. How about that? Do you like that? Plus, later in actual deliberation, Matt is wearing this t-shirt that says, porn destroys women. And that made the producers even more kind of ticked off. They're like, fuck you, man. Like, you put us through a moral dilemma here in our editing. We're like, do we blur out your t-shirt or just let it on the air? I mean, we don't know. Like, they're annoyed as well. They're like, does porn destroy women? I mean, it certainly gives them some income. I mean, I don't know. So after that, Matt is in the confessional and he's like, everyone feels that Coral is not positive for the team, but everyone is afraid of Coral. This is a problem. In The Miz, he's thinking to himself, he's like, I'm in a mix right now. Do I vote off my friend, or do I keep on sitting back and watch my team fall apart? Now, this is the return of, like, an actual leader. Like, I really like this right now. All right, so now we're actually in deliberation. And Miz is speaking in his big boy voice right now while preparing to vote Coral in. He's like, you know what? Because, like, already this is totally different. This is actually Mike speaking in the Miz's voice. Because the Miz usually takes over for Mike. He's the more aggressive part of Mike. He's the wrestler, the wrestling side of Mike. So now Mike isn't necessarily addressing the group right now about Coral. It's actually Miz doing the talking right now. So it's like, you know what? I am the kind of person that I finish everything. And it really pisses me off when, whether we're winning or we're losing, that you don't want to finish. Like, if you're not that kind of person, I want you to go into the Gauntlet. And right away, people actually did respond. Theo, he has the belt. He's like, you know what, Coral, my vote is for Coral. To be honest with you, I haven't been that impressed to what I know you can do. And when you're yelling and it's pissing us off too. Like, you're kind of just ruining it for the rest of us. You're kind of bringing down the morale. But Norman, though, he comes in and he's like, you know what, my vote is for Matt. Like, right away. Like, no big explanation or anything like that. I really think that Norman is just in Coral's pocket. Not necessarily in her pocket, but he's just like, I am never going to vote you in either. I am sticking to the code. Irulan, she's like, you know what? I feel like other people haven't been given the opportunity to step up. Therefore, I'm going to vote in for Matt. Now, already, I'm just like, that's bullshit. Well, if you step up, you should have been going in by now. You're saying Matt hasn't had the opportunity to say, hey, I'll go in. So now he should go in right now. I mean, you've voted yourself in plenty of times, Irulan. And so is Alton, and so is Coral. And now they're like, well, we voted ourselves in. I think Matt should go in now. Like, it's bullshit. It's a complete scam. This is a strategy built in from day one, from episode 1. And Matt was totally privy to this idea. I mean, like, he kind of had his hand on the pulse. He knew what was going on. So, to me, I'm kind of disappointed in Irulan. I mean, Irulan was right behind Matt in this big boat trying to help him out. Yet, it's like, come on, you were right behind him. He was trying to lead. Now, I mean, I've heard that some people will say that the boat is actually steered by the person in the back. But still, Matt was the one that was leading this thing. So anyways, Irulan totally, turned on Matt, but no big surprise. Cut to Elka. Elka's like, well, Matt. I mean, no big explanation there, just Matt. And then Nathan, soap opera star Nathan, says, I think if it's a strong player, Matt. No surprise at all there. I've said this before. I don't think Nathan cares for Matt whatsoever. This is not his first vote for Matt at all. And I love it because it cuts to Matt, and Matt's like, he just turns. He's like, you know what, Coral, nothing personal, but my vote goes for you. Trishelle, she gets the belt, and she's like, you know what, Matt, I don't want to lose you as a teammate because you've kicked ass constantly. My vote is for Coral. I love this turn from Trishelle. Previous episode before, at least during the mud bath thing, people were like, oh my god, Trishelle is totally different than her kind of bitchy side back in Battle of the Seasons 2. And I was like, nah, she's still kind of, she's not a bitch, but like she's not as that great as everyone thinks she is. But she's actually kind of stepping up here. She's actually voting the right way, in my opinion. So she's like, you know what, Matt, there's no reason why you should go in at all right now. So my vote is for Coral. I was like, that is awesome. Way to go, Trishelle. We cut to Rachel B, who's friends of Matt, of course, and she's like, you know what? I think it's kind of BS to send in Matt. She votes for Coral. So now it's 4 versus 4. 4 votes for Matt, 4 votes for Coral, and now it comes down to the Miz. He's got his head in his hands like, oh my god, are you kidding me? So he says, okay, again in his big boy voice, he's like, okay, are we all in agreement that we should send in strong or weak? If we put in a strong player, I think we should put Matt in there. And Matt just like, oh my god, are you kidding me? Fuck you, asshole. I thought I did. What was all that talk? God damn it, I'm going in. But then Miz says, but if we put in a weak player, Coral, I love you to death, but in the past 3 missions, you have been our weak link. I think Coral should go in. Right then and there, the whole scene turns. Coral, she just sinks in her chair. She's completely thunderstruck. She's just like, I can't believe you just said my name. What the fuck? And Alton is already just like jumping in and saying, she's not ready. Well, I'll be able to go in at some point. Even Nathan's like, yeah, she's not ready. She's not ready. And Alton is like, Coral, it's not Mike. And Miz, he sinks in his chair. He's just like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said it. Like, I did what was right, but oh my God. It's kind of ridiculous because they're just like, Coral, it's not Miz. And they're saying, like, Coral's not ready yet. Like, well, who was ready? Was fucking the first guy ready? I don't even remember his name now. Was Montana ready? Like, it's just not fair. It's just because they're friends. So it's kind of exposing everyone right now who is actually in Coral's camp and who's not. Miz was, but he's like, no, this cannot continue to go on. This is a team divided. So Coral's like, okay, I'm out. She just kind of, and Miz is like, go, like that. He doesn't even look up. He's just like almost like crying now. He's got his head in his hands. It's great because Miz, for a while now, he hasn't really been in these episodes at all. We know he's the leader of sorts, but now he finally makes a return, but it's a more emotional appearance to the show, like more of an emotional return. It's really interesting because this is a big bulky guy, and now he's just like, oh my God, I can't believe I said Coral's name, my friend. Coral, she walks out, and now the whole entire team of Real World is in an uproar about what just went down. It's ridiculous. But it's also interesting that Coral has that much pull on a fucking team. So everyone's like shouting and shit. They're like, this isn't right, or this was right. Like, oh, that was dramatic or whatever. But Miz is like, Coral is my best friend, but I know people look for my vote. We were in the Battle of the Seasons together, Coral and I, and we won together. And it's so hard to watch her not do good at these missions. And sit here and try to persuade you guys not to vote her off. It's really hard for me. But I see Matt and Rachel looking at me, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, guys. This is amazing. I really like this fucking part because Mike the Miz is giving us exactly what a real world person, what we expect from them, but in spades. And I love the fact that he's like, you know what? It's really hard for me to sit here and try to persuade you guys not to vote her off. It's just this huge epiphany where everyone's like, I knew it, or like, holy shit, like I kind of had a feeling that something was wrong with this team, and maybe that's what it was. Coral doing bad and Miz looking the other way and not really participating in these deliberations until now. This is something that the team needed. We cut to outside. It's Alton and Irulan trying to comfort Coral in their matching clothes. You know, they wear these matching red jumpsuits or whatever. It's very cute. Like I said before, they are basically the homecoming king and queen of the challenge. So they're trying to comfort Coral. And Coral is trying to say, like, no, this is more than just a vote. This is my friend, like multiple takes. She's just like, she probably figured, like, producers, take one of these takes and you'll get the point across. But the producers are like, no, you said it like 6-7 times in a row, we're gonna put it all in. And Alton is just like, Miz, he's got 10 pairs of eyes staring at him, including his own. And Coral is just like, my friend, like 3 more times. And Alton's like, fuck it. So he lights up his cigarette. So later on, Miz finally he kind of walks outside and he starts talking to Coral. Coral's like, you know what? I understand that you're trying to play this game, but I'm not playing a game. This is not a game to me. I'm your friend, and I would never do that to you. You said I will never vote for you. You couldn't even tell me to my face. Right then and there, there's another opening, another epiphany, where like Coral is saying, listen, you could have told me before this big vote went down, before it was all dramatic and in deliberation of all things. Like, you could have said, hey, I have no choice. You could have told me you've been performing bad. I'm going to finally vote you in. But you didn't. You made this grand gesture in front of everyone else. Whether it was true or not, whether she really believes it or not, she's really putting it to the Miz right now by these little mind games. She's like, you know what, Miz? You know what, Mike? Something's off. And that's all she says. Fuck you, truck. And that leaves poor Mike, the Miz, just kind of standing there, like, kind of like dumbfounded. He's like, something's off. What the fuck does that mean? Basically, Coral is letting out all her rage on Mike the Miz, this poor muscle-bound meathead who's like, what the fuck does that mean? Coral knows that he's not going to understand this, but no, she's really sticking it to him. She's like, I'm going to make you suffer for this. Because we're friends. So now they kind of go back. Mike and Coral, they come back to the team and they're kind of hanging outside. So they go up there and Coral's like, you know what? I agree I should go in. I do not argue the fact that I should be going in right now. I am just caught off guard here because Mike is my friend. And they're like, yeah, we all heard you like 8 times. But anyways, so Mike is like, oh God, you know what? In the confessional, he's like, you know what? This was the right decision for the team, but I don't think this was the right decision for life. He's feeling horrible about his decision, but in my opinion, I'm like, no, there's no reason to feel that bad. Like, this is a game, and you guys are friends, but Coral, she blew this out of proportion by just, like, dramatically leaving. I mean, sure, this is great television for us, but for them, for the team, and for Mike, like, this was not the way to go about it. She was fucking putting up a stink when everyone before this deliberation went on, right after the Holy Canoe mission, they were saying, Coral, we really want to let you know how we feel now, today, at this moment. And she was very defensive. She was very bitchy. She was very deflective. She was just kind of putting in everywhere else. So now that it happens again in the voting, in the actual deliberations, she storms off. But then she comes back and she's like, you know what? I totally agree. It's just that Mike, I'm just so fucking taken aback by what his decision was. To me, that was another just kind of a huge political move. Almost like a huge, like, apology, a fake apology, like what is it called, a press statement or a press conference. And she's kind of just moving it all the blame to another person. She's like, Mike the Miz, he's my friend. I am shocked about that. And you know, she's kind of in a way emasculating him in front of the team a little bit. Like, he is the leader and she is the she is almost like, if he was the president, she's the vice president. If he was Bush, she was Cheney. And as we all know, Cheney was really in charge. No, I don't know. But yeah, she's really kind of making Miz take the brunt of all her anger right now and kind of redirecting it again. So to me, I didn't really like it. Like, I didn't really respect Coral for doing all that stuff. I don't think Miz deserved it. So anyways, we finally get to the Gauntlet night, or day, actually. It's in the day. We have Road Rules Tina versus Real World Coral. The dice is rolled. It's Dead Man's Drop. And that's where you have to jump into the water, grab onto a trapeze bar that slowly raises up, and then you have to hang from your legs, and then just hang there and try and out-hang the other person before they fall. So this is very interesting too, because Coral is poisonous for the team. Meanwhile, the Road Rules, according to Veronica and Rachel, it's the heart of the team, at least the heart of the female portion of the Road Rules team. So two totally different things hang in the balance of this trapeze bar Dead Man's Drop gauntlet. And it's funny because Tina's like, I'm ready to kick some real world butt. She doesn't say butt as in B-U-T-T, as in like B-U-T ... It's so fucking interesting. It's almost like she was like, I'm ready to kick real world butt. I see Coral there. So anyways, it starts. They're hanging upside down. And it's so funny how throughout this entire episode, everyone who talks to Coral, who finally has something to say that probably will not please her, they're always just kind of like apologizing, just a twinge. And so is Johnny Mosley. They're hanging upside down, and Coral grabs onto her feet. And Johnny Mosley's like, Coral, don't grab your feet. Okay? Like, it's, again, very apologetic to Coral. She is the fucking queen bee, you know? So, they're hanging there. It's a while. I don't know how long, 5 minutes, something like that. And people are like doing their little clappers and like screaming and shouting like, "Ah, you can do it," and shit like that. And it's great because Coral puts a finger to her mouth, just like, quiet, I need to concentrate. And sure enough, it just dies down. The noise just fucking goes down like that. So they're both hanging there. And Coral, she looks over to Tina. And Coral's like, I see Tina just hanging like a bat. And I want to see her shake. I want to see her struggle. I want to see her fall. And it's crazy. Tina was hanging there perfectly, like a bat. Disgusting as all hell. Probably has rabies and would probably get caught in my hair. She starts to struggle. She starts to fucking like, I don't know what happens. Producers do this thing that's nearly unheard of even to this day, where they kind of do this weird editing where it's like it makes it look like Coral's legitimately doing some voodoo onto Tina, some sort of mind control or some sort of X-Men like powers. And Tina starts to struggle and Tina falls. Coral wins. They jump for joy. They're like, yeah, you know. But it's such a weird moment where they're cheering for this woman who's been kind of working against the team. Road Rules lost someone that was actually kind of helpful. And I actually thought that was true. Like, I actually thought that Tina was very vocal in her support of the team. Like, with Katie, she was one of the rare people to actually just sit down with Katie and say, hey, we really need to figure something out. She wasn't just shouting at her or condescending to her like Veronica was. So Coral wins. And they're all cheering and shit. But I'm like, okay, but what does this mean for real world? I mean, like, it's not like Coral's going to change. Like, why would she? You know, she survived. She's back. And it's like, has real world suffered for Mike and Coral not opening with each other? The fact that they haven't been truthful with each other this entire season, maybe that's why real world has been lagging. Because they were completely a team on Battle of the Seasons 1. And they weren't doing that this season. So maybe this is a good thing. Maybe now that everything's out in the air, it'll be a good thing. I mean, sure, like Miz tried to kind of talk to Coral when she won, but she just kind of hugged Elka instead and kind of rolled her eyes because Mike tried to hug her or whatever, you know? So anyways, we cut back to Road Rules. They're back at the house. And Rachel Robinson and Veronica, they shame their Road Rules team with Tina's fresh defeat. Like, they have this battered woman and they're just like, look at what you've done. She lost. Like, look, how dare you? Tina should be leaving by now, but no, they bring Tina in and they talk to every fucking cast member, it seems like, and they're like, why would you vote her in? Look at her. She's wet and she's teary-eyed and she's like, this is a woman who's leaving because you voted her in, and why? They're like, this was you targeted Tina because you knew that she could get voted out or some shit. Or they were saying, like, it's just because she's a girl. Admit it. Just because she's a fucking female, that's why you voted her in. They corner Abram, Veronica and Rachel Robinson. Abram's like, you know what? Let's not make it. It's not a guy versus girl thing. I'm looking at like an all-around performer. And please, still have a threesome with me? Can you still? Like, Rachel Robinson and Veronica, they're bitching at him, but it's like, I know. Damn it. Like, can we still hook up later in the season? I mean, that's all I really care about. I'm sorry, you know? So, but it's crazy because they're trying to say this is a sexist thing. And Abram's like, no, this isn't. Not at all. But you cut to Dave, I think it's Theo, Adam L., and they're talking about how things are going to shake down. And Dave is in the confessional, and it's fantastic. He's like, the girls are probably all going to be off before the guys go. It sucks, but it's good for the team. It's incredible how he just says that. It's like he's never thought of any kind of repercussions, any girls getting upset about this line that he just said. He's like, there's no way I'm going to be a star on NBC of all things. People are never going to fucking hear this again. But it's crazy. It's crazy just how casually throw this out. Anyways, I just felt like Tina was positive, a team player, a Veronica Lackey, sure, but I think she was good for the team. She never did anything wrong, and there's definitely a conspiracy out. Is it sexist? Apparently, according to Dave in his comment. So yeah, there's a little opening there. Like, what's going to happen with the Road Rules team? Like, there are some kind of chinks in their armor. There's a crack in the team, and that's just the sexism. Sexism within a team is not very good. We've seen how that worked in Gauntlet 3. So now we cut back to Coral and Irulan, and they're at the bar again, or a restaurant or something like that. And Coral's like, yeah, I figured you would have betrayed me way before Mike would. And we cut to a montage of Coral and Miz, like, through the tears and the laughs and stuff. It's great. I love seeing it. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly, like, these two together were perfect. Like, these two work together so well. And we haven't seen that throughout the season. So now, I hope that there's a little switch coming. I hope that the real world do start coming together in some way. Now that everything's out in the air and the road rules start to crumble through, blatant sexism. So, that was the episode. Remember to like this video, subscribe, and check out our other seasons that we've checked out. Comment if you want to. Sometimes I do actually comment back. And I am Vincent Cloud, and this is Battle of the Challenges podcast. Thank you for listening.